Hi Titans, and thank you for joining us. My name is Jennifer Wheeler and I'm the project manager in the Office of the Dean of Students. Today I'm joined by some amazing colleagues and we're going to be talking about Directive 21. This is the newest directive here at CSUF and it's all about COVID-19 mitigation measures and guidelines to keep everyone safe as we return for this fall semester. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to some of the panelists today that are going to be talking to you to give some introductions and talk about their role on campus. We'll start off with Dr. Vigil.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Vincent Vigil, and I serve as an Associate Vice President for Student Affairs and the Dean of Students, and also the co-chair of our Reentry Leadership Team on campus. Hand it over to Dr. Becerra.
Hi, everybody. My name is Mary Becerra. I'm the Director of Health Services and am the co-manager of our COVID-19 response team. And I will hand it over to our Associate Dean of Students.
Hello, my name is Carmen Curiel. I'm Associate Dean of Students and Director of Care Services in the Dean of Students office.
And hi all, I'm also the Associate Dean of Students and Director of Student Conduct, Amanda Davidson.
Cool. Well, I wanted to start off today talking a little bit about President's Directive 21. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. Because I think some of you may have gotten an email from me if you have an in-person class. So for those of you that have an in-person class, you would have received an email from me that talks a little bit about two things that we need you to do before you come to campus. The first thing was to read our President's Directive 21, which is COVID-19, mitigate measures and guidelines. The other thing was to watch a health and safety video. And I'll go into that in a little bit. But basically, COVID-19 has impacted all of us, as we know. And our campus, we wanted to create some measurements and guidelines that can help guide you as you return to campus. So there are different aspects of the directive in here that we're going to highlight together as a group. That includes face coverings, that includes physical distancing, that includes isolation and quarantine, house screenings, and case reporting, and then also signage and safety guidelines. So all of those aspects within the directive we will address today. I also wanted to share with you the information that was shared via email for Canvas. So one of the things that we did, if you do have an in-person class on our campus, we enrolled you in a Canvas course. So for those of you that have an in-person class, when you go to your courses, you'll see Return to Campus during COVID-19. This is a course within Canvas. So I'm showing you what it looks like. In here, what we need you to do is we need you to look at the assignments, and you have two assignments there. You have a Return to Campus during COVID video, and then you also have an acknowledgement form. So we need you to watch that video. It's a short video that talks about health and safety tips. And then after you watch that video, we need you to go ahead and sign the acknowledgement form saying that you watched the video. This is very, very important for you as you return to campus, because in that video, we talk about hygiene, we talk about disinfectant, we talk about things that you can do in terms of washing your hands, everything that can be helpful as you return to campus. So it's very important that you watch that video in Canvas while you return to campus. So the first part of the President's Directive that I wanted to talk about was face coverings. So one thing that is very important to know is that you must wear your face coverings while you're on campus. So one thing that Dr. Becerra likes to say is she likes to say, once you park your car and get outside of that car, you put your face covering on and you wear that face covering all throughout your time on campus. And then when you get back in your car, you can take that face covering off, right? And so that includes wearing the face covering while in class. So you have to wear that face covering even when you're in class. And I know some of you are probably going to stop by Carl's Jr. and stop by the Pollock Library Starbucks because those are open to get some food. And if you do, it's okay to remove your mask momentarily as you're eating. But remember, we want to have that physical distancing, right? 6 feet away from each other as we're eating. So, you can take it off while you eat momentarily, but we maintain that 6 feet physical distance. And you must wear your mask all throughout campus, everywhere on campus. So that's very, very important to know. I also wanted to talk about the physical distancing. So that's also important. So we have created classroom structures where you are going to be physically distant from your colleagues in class. We've also created different signage, and we'll go into that a little bit later, that encourages physical distancing. So we are encouraging you as you are on campus to physically distant from each other. I know that it's hard, and I know that, we don't want to be away from our friends and we want to give them hugs because we haven't seen them, but we have to maintain that physical distance while we're on campus. So, you could do your elbow high five, but we just want to maintain that as we're on campus. So those are two important aspects of the President's Directive, and I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Becerra and Carmen to talk a little bit about isolation and quarantine.
Thank you, Dr. Vigil. The first thing that we want to cover is to make sure that any student who is feeling unwell stays off campus. Now is the time to take care of yourself and to take care of each other. And if you are feeling unwell in any way, it's not the time to come to campus, even if that means that you need to miss an in-person class. There will be a couple of occasions where you will be told that you must stay off campus. And there's two reasons for that. One of them would be that if we determine that someone has been exposed to COVID-19, you would need to do what's called self-quarantining. And self-quarantining means staying in your residence except to run essential errands, but you're self-monitoring for symptoms. You're just checking to see if you develop any symptoms that could be consistent with COVID-19. The other reason to stay off campus is to self-isolate. Self-isolation is a little bit different than self-quarantining. It means that you are experiencing symptoms that could be COVID-19, and you need to stay self-isolated even in your residence, away from anybody else that you live with, and only leave your house to seek medical care. So that would mean that other people would need to help you get food or make sure that you have enough food in your home that you can cover the entire self-isolation period. So I'm going to turn it over to our Associate Dean of Students, Carmen, who can talk a little bit about how the Dean of Students Office can be of assistance to you during this time.
Thank you, Dr. Becerra. So if you don't feel well, as Dr. Becerra said, we ask that you take care of yourself and not come to campus. Now, if that prevents you, obviously, from attending a class or participating in any instruction, and you need assistance, you will be referred to the Dean of Students Office or Disability Support Services for appropriate academic accommodations while you are in self-isolation. During that time, when you're self-isolating or until your symptoms have sufficiently resolved, you need to remain on campus. So if you need campus-based assistance, either with contacting your faculty or getting other forms of support, please contact the Dean of Students Office. We will help you. This is a difficult time, and we know you all want to stay on track to complete the semester and continue to work towards the goal of graduation. So we can provide you with support, especially if it involves follow-up with faculty so that you can stay on track.
Thank you, Carmen. So the next topic we want to cover is, well, how do you know when to stay off campus? What symptoms and what does it mean if I feel unwell? So I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to share a resource with you, but we are asking students that they monitor every single day before they come to campus and determine whether or not they're experiencing symptoms that may be consistent with COVID-19. So where we're asking students to do that is you go to the Center for Disease Control website, which is cdc.gov, and you click on coronavirus disease. And right over here, it explains the symptoms of COVID-19, which do mimic those of a typical cold and flu in most situations. Fever and chills, cough, shortness of breath, fatigue, muscle and body aches, headache, sore throat, congestion or runny nose. There could be some nausea, vomiting, or diarrhea. And a very important one that we've been seeing a lot of is this new loss of taste and smell. So if students believe that they've been having any of these symptoms, or you want to use this self-check symptoms on the coronavirus self-checker, and it indicates that you may be experiencing symptoms consistent with COVID-19, we're asking that you please remain off campus. until those symptoms have resolved or you have spoken with a primary care provider. You can speak to a primary care provider off campus on your own, or you can contact the Student Health Center and we can put you in contact with one of our providers via the phone for a phone appointment. And with that, I will turn it back over.
Dr. Becerra, can you talk a little bit about case reporting? So if I happen to, if I'm a student and I am COVID positive or I have symptoms, do I need to let the university know, or what should they do?
Thank you, Dr. Vihal. I appreciate that. So yes, we are asking that any student who believes that they are feeling unwell and their symptoms could be consistent with COVID-19, or they've been informed that they have been exposed to somebody who is ill and experiencing COVID-19, that they let the campus know. And the reason for that is because we want to make sure that we clean any appropriate spaces that you may have visited while you were on campus, and that we reduce the possibility of another individual on campus getting sick as a result of that exposure. So there's a very simple way that you can let us know, and you can do this in the privacy of your home, and just takes either a smart device or your computer. So I'm going to share my screen again, and this time I'm going to take us to the Cal State Fullerton webpage. And if you look on our Cal State Fullerton webpage, there's this orange toolbar at the very top called Titan's Return and our response to COVID-19. You're going to click that, and this takes you to our campus COVID-19 kind of recovery website to give you all kinds of information that you need to know about the campus during this time. And you're going to click on this icon, Report a COVID-19 Case or Exposure. Once you click on the icon, you're going to want to go ahead and click on the link that's Student and Employee Form. And it's going to take you to your login page that will require you to enter some additional information that you then will click Submit. It goes to our COVID-19 response team, and we will determine whether or not you should be coming to campus, or if you need to stay off campus, how long that might be. And we will be able to reach out to you directly, talk to you about how you're feeling, talk to you about any type of medical care that you may need to receive, and put you in contact with that medical care, and then give you all the information about how to self-isolate or self-quarantine at home. And so you can expect a phone call back from us within 1 business day after submitting that form. And we want to remind everybody, stay off campus until you talk to a member of our COVID-19 response team.
Cool, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Becerra. So another aspect of the directive that I wanted to talk about is signage. So for those of you that have in-person classes, you'll notice once you come to campus that there's probably signs everywhere, right? Once I step out of my car, there's a sign that reminds me to wear my mask or my face covering. But also when you're walking to your classes, you'll probably see signs as you enter the buildings that will identify entrance areas, exit routes. Also some distance markers will be on the ground. So if you're waiting in line for that Pollock Library Starbucks, you'll probably see distance markers there. Also, as you wait for the elevators in some of our buildings, you'll see distant markers. You'll see a lot of signage that talks about required face coverings. So we're trying to remind you as much as possible about the required face coverings. You'll also see signage about capacity limits in some of the rooms within our buildings. So some of our rooms can only have a capacity of a certain amount of people. So we want to respect that in these rooms, also our classrooms and within our library space. I also want to talk a little bit about safety guidelines. So it's important for you all, as I mentioned earlier, to please watch that video. So I can't stress that enough. Please watch that video. It's going to have all the guidelines that you need in terms of your health and safety as you return to campus. And please sign that acknowledgement form. So we tried to make it easy with the Canvas class, but if you are having trouble accessing it, please contact the Dean of Students office and we will get you the help that you need to get access to that particular video and the acknowledgement form. So please, please, please watch that. And again, Dr. Becerra took you to the CDC website. That's a great website. That's another great resource for you to look at prior to returning to campus or just going to any other location, right? I know a lot of us have been looking at the CDC website lately. So with that being said, I also want to talk about a little bit about the directive and how are we going to enforce it, right? You know, and I want to hand that over to the Associate Dean of Students and Director of Student Conduct, Amanda Davidson.
Thank you, Dr. Vigil. So talking a little bit about how are we going to enforce this policy, it covers, as was mentioned, faculty, staff, and students, as well as any volunteers or folks that might be on campus or participating in university-related activities. So there's a couple different departments that are also helping to enforce this directive. So specifically for students, that would be our office, the Office of Student Conduct. For any staff or faculty, that would be Labor and Employee Relations under Human Resources and Diversity Inclusion, so HRDI, and then also Environmental Health and Safety. So those are some departments that if you have questions or if maybe there's a unique circumstance that you have are curious about enforcement, you can reach out to those areas. But I'm going to talk a little bit about what this is going to look like for you students who may be on campus attending classes and university related activities. So ultimately, you know, it's important that you follow the directive and read through that so you know what those expectations are. It's already mentioned about the face coverings and physical distancing. And so if students do not comply with the face coverings or any other portion of this directive, especially during class, faculty are going to ask you if you show up to class without a face covering to either, if you have one, go get that from your car, or if you need one, they may be able to provide them to you because they will be receiving some face coverings that they'll have access to. Or there's some distribution locations on campus that you can go and seek those. So sometimes it happens where we just forget. So you can look on the same website that Dr. Becerra just showed you for the Titans Return to get more information about that. But if you do refuse to comply with any of these, faculty will ask you to leave the classroom. And that can have an impact, right? Because you show up, you get here, and then not being able to participate can really impact you academically. So you want to be prepared. And if not, you know, if you do need to go get that face covering or go to the distribution center, then they'll be graceful. Faculty should give you that opportunity to go do so and come back to class. If you are asked to leave because you're failing to comply, know that the next time you do come to class, you're expected to comply with those expectations. And if you don't, you will be asked to leave again. And within the first 2 weeks of the class or the semester, you can withdraw. So maybe you realize that this isn't something you can comply with, or your feelings have changed and you feel uncomfortable, you can withdraw within the first 2 weeks. And so you can work with your faculty member to communicate with them what your needs are, and they can help assist you with that. If students still refuse to abide by these policies, then they will get referred to the Office of Student Conduct. And there will be a range of outcomes that can happen. So that can be anything from a warning to any sort of disciplinary status with our office. And so we take this very serious because the health and safety of our community is really critical. And so making sure that if students don't comply, they understand why the directive is in place and what those health and safety measures are for is really important to us. So you would be referred to our office for any sort of violation. And if you observe another classmate or a faculty or staff member not complying with this directive, please report that as well. So you can go to our website, the Dean of Students Office. On our main homepage, we do have a reporting form for student conduct. So that's where you can submit any information about a peer that may not be complying or someone on campus. If you have specific concerns about faculty or staff, then you want to direct those to HRDI, specifically Labor and Employee Relations. If you're confused or have trouble communicating that, then reach out to the Dean of Student Staff and we can help get that information where it needs to go. But it's really important that everyone comply with these measures. And lastly, what I'll just say is there are some exemptions. So that's also important to note, that folks who have any sort of accommodation or need through disability support services can work with DSS on those exemptions for wearing face coverings. as well as any employees can work with human resources, diversity, and inclusion also for exemptions. And if you're not sure and you're not registered with DSS, but you need to inquire more about a possible exemption, then you can contact health services and disability support services as well if you want to know more information. So ultimately, we are enforcing, and everyone around campus has been given the encouragement and empowered to hold individuals accountable, because it's going to take all of us. And so please comply so you don't get referred to our office. So I'm going to hand it back over to Dr. Becerra to talk a little bit more about notifications.
Thank you, Amanda. So if the campus is notified that there has been somebody on campus who's tested positive for COVID, or that we believe may be experiencing symptoms of COVID, we will reach out to individuals whom we believe have been exposed or need to stay off campus for a period of time. So again, the way that we find out that information is if individuals report that through the COVID exposure link that I showed you previously. And then a member of our COVID-19 response team will provide a phone call to all the individuals that we believe may have been impacted by the possible exposure on campus. In that phone call, we will determine if anybody is experiencing symptoms. We will provide instructions about what self-isolation or self-quarantine means. And we will also send documentation to your student email account with the entire length of time that you are required to stay off campus. This is in direct concert with our Orange County Healthcare Agency's public health order. So that's the protocol that we are following. If you receive written documentation from a member of our COVID-19 response team that you are required to stay off campus, this is a mandate from a university official, and the expectation is that you do follow that mandate. Choosing not to follow that mandate will result in the referral to the conduct office that Amanda was just talking with you about. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Carmen, who's going to provide some information about how we can support you during quarantine or self-isolation.
Thank you, Dr. Becerra. So if you have reported and you've been notified by the response team, staff will work with you, designated staff will work with you. As Dr. Becerra said, the Dean of Students Office will provide support as needed, campus-based support needed. If you're planning to stay on track, we will work with you to make sure. The campus will also notify impacted students when there is a report of a COVID positive case as well, to comply and to comply with all of our safety measures and all of our guidelines. We are thinking of everybody. And so it's really important, if you are contacted by a member of the response team, that you please follow the directions, stay off campus, take care of yourself. If the goal is for you to complete the semester, but you're stuck and you're not sure what to do, contact the Dean of Students Office, please. If you're registered with DSS, contact Disability Support Services. Either way, we are here to help you because we don't want to lose you. We don't want to lose any of our students. And so we will comply as well with all of our health and safety requirements. If there's a potential for students to be impacted, based on what we learn, we will notify them. The campus will definitely notify them. So let us help you. Let us help you stay enrolled and complete the semester.
Thank you, Carmen, and thank you to all of you who have spoken about this directive. I know it's such important information and a lot of time went into it as well, and the goal is really just to keep everyone on campus safe. Some main takeaways that I got today were: watch those videos. If you're returning to campus, make sure you watch those 2 videos that are in Canvas. Wear your face coverings at all times when you're on campus. You can only take them off when you're back in your car. And then also keep that physical distancing as well when you're on campus, whether you're wearing a face mask or not. I really appreciate the team sharing also what they're going to be doing when cases are reported. So students, rest assured that there is an entire team dedicated to receiving those reports and making sure that folks who need to be notified are notified in order to keep the campus as safe as possible. So thank you all again. At this point, we can close off. I want to remind folks that if they have questions, they can always contact the Dean of Students. Our email is deanofstudents@fullerton.edu. And before we end this recording, I just want to ask you, Dr. Vigil, if you have any closing remarks for the students.
Thank you for that summary, Jennifer. I think that it captured everything. So that was great. But please, I just want to echo what Carmen had said. We want to make sure that you are successful this fall semester. So I know this isn't the fall semester that we all imagined. I know it's not what we pictured, but thank you for your flexibility as we navigate COVID-19. So please, if you need anything, reach out and contact the Dean of Students office and we'll be able to help. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.